Some upbeat banner, plenty of laughs, and a whole lot of love for the game and our team. This is Buds and Blue Jays. And now your hosts, Riley McConnell and Jesse Burrell.
Oh, good evening, everyone. It is Sunday, May 19th, and welcome to episode 178 of Buds and Blue Jays, your place for all things related to the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm Jesse Burrell, as always, joined by usual by my co-host Riley McConnell, and today on our show, the Blue Jays begin a pivotal 16-game stretch late into May against the Tampa Bay Rays. And surprise, surprise, the Blue Jays go another series without getting a series win. This one felt a little different. They lost the first two, some of them in very dramatic fashion, before Alek Manoah came out and shoved in Game 3, so the Blue Jays can avoid getting swept for the first time this season. We have a lot to talk about on this episode. We're going to dive deep into what we think the Blue Jays should do later into the season. We're going to break down Ross Atkins' press conference that he talked about with a lot of quotes and some interesting things on what the future of this Toronto Blue Jays team. And of course, we got to talk Alek Manoah and some of the great performances we did see from the Toronto Blue Jays in this series. But first, Riley, tough weekend series against a division rival. We never play well against the Tampa Bay Rays, and they took our number here in this series. How are we feeling after the series against the Rays?
Well, geez, man, we outscored them. I mean, if you look at the run differential over a series loss, we still come out with, I think, +1 in the run differential column, which is fine and dandy if you win and lose games by that. But we don't. We drop another series. I would say we salvaged Game 3 today. I was very worried going into this Game 3 with Alek Manoah on the bump. I mean, this guy has been the biggest question mark in Major League Baseball over the last 400 plus days. It's insane what, kind of trajectory he's had. And honestly, Jesse, his last two starts, 14 innings, no earned runs. I mean, if you take those two specific numbers and attach them to any pitcher, you probably feel pretty good, pretty confident about how that guy's been throwing. But if you're a guy like me, you're kind of thinking, all right, when the hell are the wheels going to fall off? This is going too good. I mean, I don't know if he's back, if he's returning. There's been a lot of problems with wheels falling off certain players, and we'll get into that, Jesse. Some guys have stayed hot, for the most part of this year. Not a scorching temperature by any means. I can't say anyone on the Blue Jays has been a scorcher. Maybe Jimmy Garcia has been our best and brightest player. But other than that, man, look, we're coming in the same kind of deal as the last time. And more or less, man, we are the only team in Major League Baseball not to get swept this year, but it still feels like we're very much, we are a losing ball club, but, we're a 500 team right now as on paper, I think, and as the results are that we're getting. Like, we're not making big waves right now, and we especially won't advance in this. We got some, they say easier games coming up, and if we don't take advantage of these ball games, Jesse, we're going to find ourselves eliminated from the postseason before we're mathematically eliminated from the postseason.
Yeah, before we dive into Alek Manoah's performance here on Sunday, let's talk a little math, because as things stand right now, the Blue Jays, before their win today, were 6 games below 500. They hadn't been not that low below 500 since Vlad's rookie year, the 2019 season, when that season ended. That was the first time we've been that low. In order for the Toronto Blue Jays to get to that 86 win mark, which was what it took last year to get us into that final wildcard spot by 1 game, the Blue Jays are going to have to go 71-47 down the rest of the stretch. That's a .602 winning percentage in order just to get to 86 wins, which honestly might not even get us into the playoffs. Now, you could look at it. The Jays are 3.5 games back after the series today. Maybe they have an outside chance, but I know you and I both don't think realistically this team is anywhere close to sniffing the playoffs. And with a -40 run differential the Jays have, I don't think we think that's the case either. But let's get into some of the positives that did happen here, Riley. And I'm going to start with the simple question. Is Alek Manoah back? Is he here? Is that ace-level guy coming to stay? His line was fantastic today. 7 innings, 1 hit, 7 strikeouts. Is he back?
I mean, I think I answered the question already when I said how I feel about kind of moving down the stretch. You hope that he's back, but I certainly don't think that 2 games where you're scoreless through 7 innings is going to, say that he is back. I think we need to see more. I think he gave us more on the bad side of the ball that we need to see way more good before we can start investing in this guy as
Yeah, as a
we've
permanent
had
fixture in this team, right?
we've had he is nowhere near what he was, and the
Mhm.
numbers back that up. I mean, listen, he gave up a walk today, he gave up a hit today, and it was a mislocated changeup. I think their 8 hitter, their catcher, base hit up the middle, on a changeup. He didn't square it up and lace it off
Mhm.
the wall. I mean, Alek Manoah things in this game. And I think more often than not, our Blue Jays guys are going to get hitters off balance and get those weak contact. We got that defense behind us for a reason, Jesse. It's not there for show and for no reason. Like there is a recipe for why the defenders are there and who is
Mhm.
there. And Alek Manoah benefits from stuff like that. 7 punch outs is still pretty good. But I mean, like, we're not seeing the 9 strikeouts over 7 with, a ton and swing and misses. I mean, this is just kind of, he's bouncing back and it's good to see, but we need to see more before we can go, okay, this guy's back to his runner-up Cy Young season. I just hope that he's going to continue to pitch well, but I'm at the same time, Jesse, a little pessimistic just because of how the last year and a bit
Right.
has unfolded
It's
on him.
Yeah, it's hard to buy back of a year and a half of being garbage over 2 good starts in a row. I do want to say you're right. Alek Manoah has benefited from good defense. The Blue Jays went with their defense first lineup today. Varsho in left, Kiermaier in center, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Kirk all in the lineup today. But look, when Alek Manoah was cruising and he was doing things really well, he was throwing all 4 of his pitches, he was throwing them for strikes, and he was inducing a lot of soft contact, which is exactly what we saw from Alek Manoah here today. Only 4 hard hit balls allowed, period. Full stop from Alek Manoah. Threw a bunch of those pitches well. He had that swagger back on the mound that we talked with Alek Manoah. I remember he had a strikeout in this one where he said he went, yep, and he went through and he jumped off the mound. He's screaming off the mound. Look, I'm with you. A long way to go until we get a good, pristine Alek Manoah, but you can't come away from this start thinking this is anything but a positive from the guy.
Certainly a positive. He cannot afford steps in the wrong direction. I mean, he's back with the major league club right now, and we need, like, Jesse, plain and simple, we need starting pitching depth right now. And if Alek Manoah he's no use to us in any way if he can't go out there and give us quality starts. So this is a huge positive. And you hope that
Yeah, he's played really well, and I'm quite optimistic that he can
all
come through
very
this here.
good. And if that swagger and good results can keep up with him, because Jesse, we desperately need good pitching and good pitching depth, and he could be one of those guys.
Well, let's talk about the other 2 starters in this series really quick. First one, Chris Bassitt, who I thought was quite good, and Kevin Gausman, who also looked quite good in his start as well. Chris Bassitt, I wanted to give a shout out. He was cruising until the 6th inning, until there was a throwing error in this one. And then that kind of rattled from him a little bit. The Jays also didn't score any runs, so that was a lot to it there. Kevin Gausman, I thought as well, was looking very good in his start. He ran into a bit of trouble there as well. I thought maybe John Schneider left him in a little too long, but it's like we've had situations where we've given John Schneider crap for pulling out pitchers too early, and maybe in this one he left in Kevin Gausman too long. I'm not sure. I actually left Cumming and Courage up both their starts, Chris Bassitt and Kevin Gausman. And a note, 900 career strikeouts for Chris Bassitt in this one, coming on a PitchCom violation, by the way, might I add, for his 900th career strikeout. And Alek Manoah did get career strikeout number 400 in this start today. So any thoughts on Bassitt or Gausman start, or just more of the same?
I certainly want to take away Bassett's line for sure, Jesse. I mean, he got the start here in a game that was, to say the least, tough to watch. For our Blue Jays bats, man. I mean, we mustered up a whole amount of 4 hits, and those 4 hits came in the 8th inning or later in the ball game. I mean, that was a tough ball game to watch. Bassitt held in there well. Tampa capitalized on Chris Bassitt made a couple mistake pitches, and they took advantage of that. We saw that, Jesse. I could see it. When you throw a 70-mile-an-hour breaking pitch or a changeup 78, 77 miles an hour, if those pitches aren't located in the right spot, and you have a good, decent hitting team, they will take advantage of it. Tampa, jumped on those pitches, took advantage of the few mistakes Chris Bassitt made. And yeah, we fell short in that appearance. And Gausman, we had this before the season even started, that we weren't sure that we were going to see a guy who's going to place third in Cy Young voting.
Right.
We certainly agree, we didn't butt heads on it. I think that this start here will kind of bring his numbers back down to earth a little bit. 1.33 in this one for 8 base runners on 6 innings, if my math is correct. But again, Jesse, he gets saddled with a couple runners on. And then your boy Nate Pearson comes into the ball game.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But I mean, but as far as the starters go, I liked what I saw out of all 3 starters. Bassett's been certainly a treat with Gausman.
Yeah, Gausman, his ERA is actually pretty close to 5 in this series, but I thought, again, he's still getting the swings and misses. He's still doing good things. I'm really excited from Kevin Gausman still. Like, I know he's giving up hard hits, but like, I really do think it's going to turn, at least for a little positive step forward for Kevin Gausman going forward here. Riley, I want to talk bullpen. You mentioned it. We got a lot to get to in this episode, and once your connection comes back here, we'll dive deep into that a little bit more. But I do want to talk bullpen in this series. The bullpen MVP, as it's been all year, is Jimmy Garcia. He was nails in this one yet again. He did come in and had a good start. I wanted to throw some love to Trevor Richards, who I didn't realize that, but they mentioned it in the broadcast today after he had a 1-2-3 inning. He isn't allowed a hit all month, like not a single one. I think he's gone 7 1/3 innings now, and he's allowed no hits on that pitch. So good thing from Trevor Richards. His ERA is down slightly above 2 right now. Trevor Richards is really good, which again is a reason why didn't you use Trevor Richards instead of Nate Pearson with that 1-run lead in the 8th in game 2? It's a question I'm still asking myself, and I think we should be asking John Schneider too. And StatCast just came out with their Batcast is what I'm calling, with all the swing rates and stuff. And Trevor Richards actually gets the second most uncompetitive swings against him in all of baseball. That's valuable. Trevor Richards is a legit real-time good pitcher and is probably number 3 in our depth chart in the bullpen right now, maybe number 4. Good props for him.
Trevor Richards had 2 very good appearances in this series, Jesse. And I would, if you were to ask me how many earned runs in that amount of time, I would not have said 0.
No
for
hits.
sure, I thought, no hits, Jesse, let alone runs. We need good, guys that aren't going to have those in your favorite kind of bullpen stat and meltdowns. Because we saw one, it wasn't great. We won't talk about it because it cost us a game. Zach Pop, again, not a fan.
Yeah, Zach Pop got hit a little bit today. I think when Chad Green is back, Zach Pop is the one that's coming down. Look, he did a job. He was serviceable for this team. The stuff looks okay. He did well, but I think he's coming back too. And it's also worth noting that Yariel Rodriguez and Bowden Francis are both on rehab assignments too, so they'll be joining this bullpen sometime soon.
Yeah, Jesse, as you know, my internet's cutting out, so I didn't catch the last part of that too. So I'll just say yes to whatever you.
Good call, Riley. Yeah, it was a great point, I'm sure. Just talking bullpen little stuff here. Tim Meza was able to get out of a jam. Genesis Cabrera was able to do. He came in with 0 out and 2 on in game 1 and was able to get out of it. So we've given Genesis Cabrera a lot of crap. I just want to give him a little bit of love for when he does something well as well, which he did in this series. Riley, let's talk offense because we got a lot to get to in the second half of this series here. I want to talk about the things on offense. I guess give me your offensive MVP if you want for this series.
Man, you know what, just for fun, and I don't want to give it, but I will at the same time. I'll give it to Daniel Vogelbach because it was
absolutely what a game he had today.
Because it was a game we won. It was a guy I wouldn't think would get the water shower at the end of the game at all this year. Very kind of situational bat. He saw, and I didn't know this. I did not know the lifetime matchup with Aaron Cervalli and Daniel Vogelbach. Like, who the hell knows that? But 3 hits and 3 runs scored. Scored on. So the home run scored on a George Springer hit. So that's important. George Springer gets a hit and then scored on an Alejandro Kirk double. Also important to know. So there's Springer getting a hit that's important, and Kirk getting a hit that's important in that victory. But Daniel Vogelbach, 3 hits, 3 runs scored. He was a triple away from the cycle, Jesse, as they say. I was
rooting for it.
Hey, of course. But you kind of knew at that point that it would be like Benji Molina at Fenway type comedics. for him to be able to get that cycle. But I'm very happy.
Hey, for what it's worth, Daniel Vogelbach does have one triple in his career, and I looked it up afterwards. It was when he was a member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He hit one in the Wrigley Field in Chicago. He hit it down the line, and it just took a weird bounce off the ivy, and Daniel Vogelbach was able to run into third base. So he does have it in his repertoire that he can hit a triple. And that's it wasn't happened today. And I thought if it happened today, who cares? That would have been the highlight of the season that would have canceled in mid-May. I want to throw some love to some other Blue Jays hitters. Davis Schneider obviously hit a home run, a 2-run home run in game 1 of this series, where he was able to get the Blue Jays on the board after Danny Jansen had a bloop single. I thought he was very good. Daniel Vogelbach also pinch hit in that game 1 and also had a hit too. So I'm really starting to lean that Daniel Vogelbach is coming around, and maybe now that he's been getting more playing time recently, he should probably be in the lineup a little bit more. And I want to talk about something on the negatives, and it's Justin Turner, Riley. And remember his 2 home run game he had against Kansas City, right? And we were all saying, oh, really good. Okay, this is good from Justin Turner. Since that point, he's gone 3 for 45. He's hitting 068, 089, 068, no extra base hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, and hit into 2 grounded into double plays. He has literally been the worst hitter in baseball with a minimum of 40 plate appearance over that time. And oh yeah, for what it's worth, George Springer has been 6th worst in all of baseball during that time. I'm ready to get Justin Turner out of there. I want to say thank you for your hot start. You did some great things, Justin Turner, but it's so hard to see a 39-year-old who swings the bat as slow as Justin Turner does really revamping it around. So I'm ready to put Justin Turner on the bench full time, and let's ride with Daniel Vogelbach, especially against righties.
It would be on your bold predictions, though, if we did DFA. I don't know if that'll happen, Jesse. However, certainly not out of the question. Vogelbach, though, definitely a guy who's not going to face. I think I saw his career OPS versus lefties, and it is not good.
Yeah, no,
don't play him against lefties. Yeah. I again, and I tweeted this out. I don't give a crap about Danny Jansen's defense. And if you want to decide to play Kirk a little bit more, depending on how our roster shapes out, there's a DH in Danny Jansen versus lefties. Vogelbach can play versus right-handers, and Kirk can come just out of the lineup versus right-handed pitching. Don't care. It's Listen, I'm not going to say it's an easy problem to fix, but there are ways that we can take Justin Turner out of the lineup and be better off. And it's
off the top of your head,
things like that. Yeah, Jesse.
Can you tell me how many times Danny Jansen has been the DH so far this year?
Not many. Like, I'm going to say 5.
One time. Danny Jansen has been the designated hitter once this year, and that is a problem for a team that's been struggling on offense and wanting to get their best foot going forward.
Geez, I know he hasn't been there, but I could have sworn, one time, eh? No, that should definitely change as well. Of course, it's weird that catchers. I mean, last year, if you were to take the Blue Jays tandem of Kirk and Jansen, I know that that's somewhere in the highest of MLB history with DH, with the catcher being your DH, somewhere short of. I don't even know who to compare that to. But I know that we would have had the catcher position being DH'd a lot last year, and and it seemed to have worked. And I have no gripe with that if Kirk can put something together and not be a total liability at the plate.
All right, one more thought on the hitters on the series before we move on to Ross Atkins quotes and some bigger pitcher stuff for the Toronto Blue Jays this season. One, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. continued to hit the ball very well. He hit a double in the 4th inning of Game 2. It was actually his first extra base hit since he hit that grand slam off Mackenzie Gore when we were in Washington. He's hitting like 400 in the month of May. Like, he's hitting awesome, but it's been all singles, all hard hit singles. It's nice to see the extra base, the double come from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I also want to point out, too, in this series, Bo Bichette did not have a hit. Hitless in the whole series after it finally seemed like things were slowly starting to come around for Bo Bichette. So still hitting the ball hard. It's just hitting the ball right at the right fielder and right at the second baseman every single time again. So worth noting a little bit for the Blue Jays. Quick thought on that before we move on to the Ross Atkins quotes.
Yeah, Bo's pressing just a little too much at the plate right now. And it's tough to watch. You know, this is a guy who gets a tremendous amount of bat on ball. And the results aren't falling his way. And I think that there are improvements that still need to be made. It's not all luck-oriented, luck-based, because of, some of his swing decisions as well. One thing he is good at is taking the count deep and drawing out at-bats, which is, hey, that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, We probably need more from our shortstop and Bo Bichette because we know how he can hit, Jesse.
Right. And you actually just echoed a lot of the very similar quotes that our general manager, Ross Atkins, came out and muttered when he had his first media availability since opening day to try to address where the team is at and where things are going. And usually when your general manager speaks, especially unprompted like this, it's never a good sign. So I want to share with you and the audience some quotes that Ross Atkins said, and I want to see if you have an instant reaction before, if you can tell us a visual, I guess, on where he thinks this team is going to go. And let's try to be quick with this because we got a few here. But the first one quote, this is from our general manager, Ross Atkins, says, obviously, we're not where we want to be. We have seen some encouraging things as of late, but was not resulted in wins. And we have some encouraging things with our offense that we feel like with time, the talent is on the team, and we certainly see things righting the ship. However, that needs to start pretty soon. Overall, I think it gives us the greatest sense of confidence that our sense of urgency as the clubhouse from 1 to 26 on our player roster is encouraging, and that is spreading throughout the coaching staff. Does this mean anything to you, or is this just more mumble jumble, we like our team, guys, bullshit from Ross Atkins?
White collar people words, Jesse.
Right.
Yeah, that's all it is. And honestly, talking about right the ship and the young hitters coming in. It's like we've seen Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero. If you're talking about Bo and Vlad, we've seen them perform better. So don't say about the age thing and experience. Like they're guys who have been in the show at this point. Like we just can't put it together. It's a buying excuses thing, and I get that, Jesse. I know you got a few more to move on to, but if he's referring to Bo and Vlad, then yeah, don't start making excuses for them because that's just it. I just hate stuff like that.
My favorite part about that is Ross Atkins said that we are seeing encouraging signs, and then Hazel May goes, yeah, what are they? He went on and tried to call him out on that. I love that. The Blue Jays reporters are gunning for heads, which is actually what we need from our general manager. The next one kind of mimics what you said earlier. Ross Atkins says, we are getting into really good counts. We are starting to work the starting pitchers better. Friday night was a great example of that, but we've been over the last month just not swinging hard or doing damage on the pitches that they should be doing. So it's like when they do make contact, it's soft contact. And I don't think it's an accident that the Toronto Blue Jays have the lowest average exit velocity in all of Major League Baseball right now. And the quote that because I'm going to lump these two together here that really stuck with me, Riley. And it's someone asked him why. Well, why is this? You have the power hitters, you have the things. Why is this not happening? And he said, quote, it's not something that I've been able to pinpoint, or Donnie or Schneid's or anyone has really been able to pinpoint. We just see it as something we can correct. He went on to go more and more about how they're putting their work in and all this stuff. The way I interpret this quote, Riley, is the Blue Jays have identified there is a problem with us doing damage and not hitting the ball well. The coach knows it's a problem. Don Mattingly knows it's a problem. Ross Atkins knows it's a problem. And from what I gathered from this quote, none of them know how to fix it. And that is the major problem for why the Blue Jays offense has struggled so far this year.
Well, Jesse, it is hard to diagnose what's wrong with hitters. I'll tell you, for instance, on one guy I have figured out, it's Dalton Varsho. I'll tell you the pitch you should not swing at because of the way his swing path is a pitch that's low and outside that may be a little bit off speed that he loops, and it'll be a pop-up. Little things like that. It goes with contact quantity versus contact quality type things. Biggio's another guy where I guess whatever these bat tracking stats, Jesse, like.
Yeah, he does not fare out well in those whatsoever. Neither does Justin Turner. In fact, the Blue Jays as a whole, if you look in the Batcast, maybe I'll do like a little separate video about that. Do not fare out very well, but go on.
Yeah, Biggio, he hits softer than everybody else, and his approach, if that data is present, he should make adjustments that is kind of similar to like a Luis Arias type guy. I'm not saying he's going to hit as well, but if these stats are present in public knowledge, then you should try and change, either your swing, shorten your bat, your path to the ball, your swing time, whatever. There are ways to fix this. Jesse, I'm not a hitting coach. To be honest, I don't know each and every player's. I can replicate their batting stances, sure, but I can't mimic their mechanics from start to finish and know what needs to be fixed in there. I'm not a hitting coach, and these guys should be able to kind of get it to a point where you can fix one player or one thing in every player. And whether it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it's back to the drawing board. Baseball is a game of constant tinkering, And I think that the Jays need to probably tinker more for this to work.
Yeah, the fact that it doesn't seem like the Blue Jays coaching staff really knows what the solution is going to be gives me very little hope for the turnaround for this Toronto Blue Jays team. And basically, I think almost shuts the door on a playoff appearance for the Toronto Blue Jays this season, unless there is something very dramatic, unless like a spark comes out of nowhere and we're able to get it done. Which leads me to my last quote from Ross Atkins. And it was about whether or not the Blue Jays are actually going to go sell on their team. And Ross Atkins kind of hesitated. He said he wanted to, like, no, we still really like the talent that we have, but there is a sense of urgency that we need to get it to turn around. I tweeted this out, but I do think this 16-game stretch, White Sox, Detroit, Pittsburgh, and White Sox again, if we are still where we are after this stretch, then selling is in full go. And Ross Atkins did even say, I want to make it known we are ready and able to pivot. Now, before we do go into a full-on rebuild, which I think seems more likely at this point, which we've talked about on some of our other episodes in the past, I don't think I trust Ross Atkins and the coaching staff and the scouting staff that we currently have out there to properly be the ones to make some of the biggest decisions this Toronto Blue Jays franchise has had probably since, not even the Halladay trade, probably since the Carlos Delgado decision to let him go. It's been a long time. So I don't know if I trust Ross Atkins in there to make that decision. So first, we got to get him out there. Quick thought on that before we decide what we should move on from.
Yes, Jesse, that's a very good point. If we face all these Central teams, we need to decide something. If we are if we don't come out of this up an above 500 team, and if let's say we have a huge stinker and we go the opposite of that, Teresio, we go 3-10 or something over that stretch, whatever that may be, then there is going to be multiple firings, because I don't think the same people that acquired these players should be behind the helm for dishing them out and deciding. I think that you need to give the reins to someone else at that point, because you can't. Jesse, you said it. How many times that these guys, our GMs, Atkins has had, how this many managers, like, this is kind of a last straw type thing in your opinion, and I kind of agree with that. So I think that it should come from, the front office down, should be moved around if we go there. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think so either. I think what may happen, because we're going to hold on for dear life, and maybe by the trade deadline, we'll be a 500 team, and then we won't know what to do. Then we'll just go, hell, let's just finish the year, and we're 4 games out of a playoff spot or whatever that may be. But I don't think it's time to basically hit the detonator just yet. We'll see how the series goes against these American League and National League Central teams, and you bet that we'll be talking about if we do lose those games, we're basically going to pretend that we're the managers and say we should do this, because everyone is a GM in their right mind in a situation like this, because a lot of people got a lot of things to say, and I think and that's fine and dandy, but I really hope it doesn't get to that point, because this season already has gone wrong. That'd be the worst season that the Jays have had in a very, very long time, because of where we were touted to start the season.
Ross Atkins, too, did mention in his press conference that he sees what the guys are doing in Buffalo. Jesse Tereso, when he was on this episode here, he talked a lot about what the guys were doing in Buffalo, and they are doing good things. Orelvis Martinez, for how good as he has been, he is like the 6th highest OPS in that Buffalo Bisons lineup right now. So worth noting, there's that, which really does make me think if the Blue Jays do go to a pivot point and they do decide to sell off some things, we're going to see an influx of those guys from Buffalo coming in here in the second half of the season, which we don't have to spend much time on it. I was going to do a ton of this, but if you were general manager and you decided, hey, it's time, sell the team, how far do we want to go? And I guess I want to start by, are there any Toronto Blue Jays, whether it's on the major league roster or in the minor league roster, that you consider untouchable? Under no circumstances we can move on from this player this season.
I want to say no. In a situation like this, you really need to have an open mind. If the right deal comes across the board and you can find the plus in, I know there's a player that you want to say, and you will say that player next, Jesse, but in any situation, if the right deal comes across the table,
yeah, you got to be open to doing it, right? Like, you have to. Like, it makes no sense for us to hold on to all these guys just because we have a faint shot. Like, I know you're not maybe a big Raptors guy, but the Toronto Raptors are going through this too. They won the core with their 2019 team, and their general manager, Masai Ujiri, kind of left it together too long when it was clear things were falling apart. And now the Raptors are going to be garbage for a few years. And I'm afraid that might happen with the Blue Jays here too.
Yeah, it might. But we get to see some exciting young guys if that's the case. We've done this before. We've done this before, and we'll do it again. Except this is way ahead of schedule with less World Series banners than we anticipated.
Yes. And going on to your point about untouchables, I have one player in the whole system that is untouchable right now, and that's Davis Schneider. He's under team control till 2030. He's still quite young. He's been hitting. He's proved he can hit in this league. I think Davis Schneider is the one player, no matter what, you have to hold on to. Everybody else, including Tiedemann, including Martinez, I'm not certain is going to be around the next time the Toronto Blue Jays are really, really good. And that includes Vlad, Bo, unless you're signing them to a long-term deal. Jansen, Kikuchi, all these guys, everyone in our bullpen. I think he's the only one that would be a mainstay on the next good competitive Toronto Blue Jays team.
I 100% agree with that too. And I like homegrown guys. Tereso's got some good ones. I like the idea of a guy like Horowitz and Barger. But as to what they can do over the course of 140 games at the big league level, we don't know. Barger got extremely unlucky with balls hit into play. And
his wife was also very pregnant when he was here. I don't know if we knew this. Like, we sent him down and he had to go right to the hospital because his wife was giving birth. So
yeah, had no idea on that. Yeah. I know Horowitz has done okay. He's not your typical power hitting first baseman, but I know, like Jesse, you were saying, whatever he is, second or third in on base plus slugging for the Bison. And
yeah, Nathan Lucas is also slugging like 940. He's 26 down there. Like, the Buffalo has a lot of guys that really do need to come up here and play. Stuart Baroa has looked really good for the Buffalo Bisons as well. Like, there is a reason you got to get these guys up here and get them to start playing. Riley, because we do got to run out of here. We're running press for time. I do got to talk about some of the players that are here and under team control for long-term still. The Blue Jays have, I guess, 4 players on their roster that are under team control for years, and then 4 more that we've signed a long-term deal. So out of these 8 players, Riley, I want you to tell me yes or no, are they still going to be here the next time Toronto Blue Jays have a big competitive team, I suppose? And those players are Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, George Springer, and Yariel Rodriguez. The 4 of them have all signed long-term deals. They're going to be here for a while. And the other ones are just younger players with team control. I mentioned Davis Schneider, but Varsho is under team control, Alejandro Kirk, Alek Manoah, and Nate Pearson. Those 8 players, are any of them still going to be Toronto Blue Jays when we finally put together our next competitive team?
I most likely, but I think that I think that there's a lot of names you said that I'm not in love with to hang around long term, Jesse. And I think a lot of people who probably watch the show and or are avid Jays fans in general would agree with that. That a change of some roster positions would be great. Look, when you sign a player to a big contract, there's a huge risk in all of that. And for me, it's I wasn't in love with the term for Springer when we originally got him, but we kind of
we knew we'd be paying for his decline.
We knew we would. And then there's the thing with Jose Barrios, because he has a lot of years left, man. And I don't know who's going to want to take on that contract. I don't think it's a contract we'll have to eat because, look, he's good. But can we use that money in some other place? I don't know. Like, I don't know yet. You don't want to have to get rid of these guys. Once you get rid of your guys on big contracts, I'm currently watching a video right now on the Florida Marlins and how they've essentially destroyed their team twice after winning the World Series in 97 and 03. And they just like, hell, we won a World Series. Well, want to go back to back? Nope. Let's just sell the team. And it's like, what are you guys doing? And they shed payroll. They send guys every direction. And that's what I feel like, if the Jays were to do that, like, whoa, we'd free up a lot of money, a hell of a lot of money, almost their entire payroll, with a guy like, look at what Barrios and Springer are making. But our young guys under team control are fantastic. And those guys should be the ones that hang around. The problem is with the trade value for a guy who's over 30 with the contract attached to him, like, what are you going to get in return for that? It's, sometimes it's tough.
Yeah, Gausman and Barrios, I'm fine with just letting them run out there right now, even if this is a bad Blue Jays team, because Jays have literally zero starting pitching depth down there. So even if they're not as good and as effective, still roll them out there, let them go. The one I'm with you on is George Springer. We have to find a way to move that contract. And Teresa's right. Ernie Clement is under team control until 2029, I believe it is. So he'll be here for quite a while as well. But with those starting pitchers, yeah, let them go. The one is George Springer. And I feel like it's going to be so hard for us to get off that contract. But the Jays were able to move on from Vernon Wells' contract. And I thought that contract was going to be untradeable as well. So the fact they were able to do that gives me hope that maybe one day we can unload on George Springer's contract as well. And then the other guys, Varsho, I get major Lyle Overbay vibes from Dalton Varsho right now. A guy who's just going to be good. His defense is always going to be there. It's going to be solid. He's going to be a little inconsistent from the bat, but a guy who should progress long-term, who could probably have a nice Jays career. But the other guys, Kirk, Nate Pearson, neither of them have the upside. They're just guys, I believe. And the other one question is Alek Manoah. If Alek Manoah turns into the stud, then we can go on. But we talked a lot about Alek Manoah at the start of this episode. Any quick thought on that, Riley, before we get out of here? Because we're pressed for time already.
No, we're pressed for time, Jesse. It's the Sunday night of a long weekend. I know I have tomorrow off. I don't know what your work schedule is, but beautiful weather going on right now. I got to move a satellite dish around when we get out of here.
Yes, we do. We're trying to solve the internet problems once and for all for Riley
The
McConnell.
curious case, and I figured out the curious case. It's that the leaves hadn't grown on the tree when the new dish was installed, and now the signal is being sent through a whole bunch of maple tree leaves. So we're, instead of chopping the tree down, which is probably my significant other would probably shoot me in the foot for that. I'm probably gonna relocate the satellite dish instead.
Smart man. Sounds like we're both very busy. We got a lot of stuff to do here. And first of them is to prepare ourselves for an upcoming series against the lowly Chicago White Sox. The bad news, we get two of their better pitchers, Eric Fedde and Garrett Crochet, on the table. But the good news is we're going Barrios, Kikuchi, and Bassett on our end. It should be a good series, a series that I'm hopeful the Blue Jays can finally start things right and get going and get the win in this series here. That'll do it for our episode here today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Make sure you follow the show on Twitter. Give us a like on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel if you have yet to do so. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere you can find your podcast. You can find Buds and Blue Jays. Make sure you leave a 5-star review, tell a friend, and all that good stuff. Riley, anything else to add before we get out of here today?
No, and I realize I got pulled pork on too. Let's get the hell out of here. Hopefully, hey, we got a lot of ball to watch too, Jesse. Let's hope it goes well against the White Sox.
All right, Godspeed. We'll be back Wednesday night to recap the White Sox. Until then, let's go Blue Jays.
Thanks, guys.